I don't want to manage life anymore, Toby. Love doesn't pay bills." Those words came from Sandra's mouth like sharp knives, and they cut deep into Toby's heart. He stared at her, speechless. He had just brought her a small food package, rice and chicken he bought after a long day working as a part-time Uber driver. But she looked at it like it was nothing. Sandra used to be kind. When they first started dating, she was sweet and thankful. Back in university, when she didn't have food, Toby shared his last meal with her. When her landlord tried to throw her out for not paying rent, Toby begged his uncle and sent the money. He had always been there for her. Through sickness, heartbreak, and bad days, he stayed. But now, things were changing. Toby wasn't rich, but he tried. Every day he woke up early, took ride requests, and saved every naira he could. His dream was to open a car-hailing business one day and build a better life for both of them. But lately, Sandra no longer seemed interested in that dream. Her eyes now sparkled when her phone beeped, not when she saw him. She started spending more time on her phone than talking with him. And when he asked what was wrong, she would snap at him. "Toby, must I talk to you every minute? I'm not your property." He didn't understand at first, but soon he began to notice the small things. She would go outside to take calls, she would hide her screen when he passed by. And whenever she smiled at her phone, she quickly wiped the smile when she saw him looking. One day, Toby asked gently, "Sandra, are you seeing someone else?" She laughed. "Someone else? With this my busy life? Please don't start your drama." But the truth was already growing like a storm behind the clouds. Sandra had met someone. His name was Tony, and he lived in the UK. They met online, on Instagram. Tony had money. He posted pictures in front of sports cars, wore designer clothes, and always talked about his big house in Manchester. He messaged Sandra one day, telling her she was beautiful, and that was how it started. Tony sent her money often, bought her a new phone. He even sent her perfumes and a wristwatch through DHL. Sandra felt special. She believed her life was finally about to change. So she began to pull away from Toby, slowly. She told herself, "Toby is a good guy, but good is not enough. I want more." Weeks passed, and Tony told her he would be visiting Nigeria. "I want to see you, babe. Book a room for us in a nice hotel. I'll take care of everything." Sandra couldn't wait. She told Toby, "My mom is sick. I have to go to the village for a few days." Toby was worried. "Do you have transport money?" "No need," she said quickly. "I'll sort myself." She already had more than enough. Tony had just sent her $150,000. On the day of the hotel meeting, Sandra wore a new gown. Her nails were freshly done, her wig was perfect, and her makeup was flawless. She felt like a queen. She entered the hotel lobby with her chest high and head raised. Tony was even finer in person. He smelled like money and confidence. He called her babe and kissed her cheek. They laughed, ordered expensive food, and spent the night together. Sandra felt like she had won. Later that night, while lying on the hotel bed, she posted on her WhatsApp status, "Soft life activated. It's better to cry in a Bentley than smile on a bike." Meanwhile, back in his small room, Toby sat on his bed, staring at the ceiling. He hadn't heard from Sandra all day. He tried calling, no answer. He typed a message, but deleted it. "I deserve this life. I've suffered enough," Sandra said, as she leaned back in the passenger seat of Tony's black Range Rover. They had just finished a fancy dinner at a rooftop restaurant in Lekki. She had never eaten food that expensive before. The waiter even poured her water like she was a queen. Tony didn't even look at the bill before he paid. Every time she looked at him, she saw wealth. He wore a gold wristwatch, had a neat beard, and even his perfume smelled expensive. When they walked together, people stared, and Sandra loved the attention. After that night at the hotel, they started seeing each other more often. Every time they met, Tony gave her something: money, perfumes, clothes, or just sweet promises. He told her he was tired of UK girls and wanted a real African wife. "I'm serious about you," he would whisper. "When I go back, I'll start your visa process." Sandra smiled and believed him. She began to ignore Toby completely. She blocked him on WhatsApp and didn't pick his calls anymore. Even when he sent money to her account, she didn't say thank you. In her heart, she believed she had leveled up. One evening, her friend Kemi visited and saw a Gucci bag on her bed. "Ha, babe, who dash you this?" Kemi asked. Sandra giggled. "My man," she replied proudly. "Which man, Toby?" Sandra laughed. "No, that one is in the past. I have someone else now, a real man, UK-based. Kemi's eyes widened. "You mean it?" Sandra nodded. "Yes, he's even doing my relocation plans. No more struggle. I'm done suffering with broke boys." Kemi looked at her for a moment and said, "Just be careful, babe." Sandra rolled her eyes. "Please don't start. This one is different. He's serious about me." The next day, Sandra posted a picture on her WhatsApp status. It was Tony's hand holding hers across a table, with 2 plates of seafood in front of them. She added the caption, "When a man knows your worth, he won't waste your time. Heart, $. Her friends flooded her DM with messages like, "You've blown," and "Soft girl era." Sandra smiled proudly as she replied them. But behind the smiles, there were signs, small ones. Sometimes Tony would forget the lies he told. He once said he was an only child, but later talked about attending his brother's wedding. When she asked, he just laughed and changed the topic. Another time, he refused to take her calls after 10 p.m. "I'm always tired at night," he said. Sandra didn't want to overthink. She told herself, don't spoil a good thing with doubt. One Friday evening, as she dressed up for another dinner date, her phone rang. It was her old friend Cynthia. "Sandra, please don't be angry," Cynthia said, "but I saw that your UK guy at a lounge last night, with another girl." Sandra paused. "Which lounge?" "Vibes Lounge in Ikoyi. They looked close, very close." Sandra forced a laugh. "That must be a mistake. Tony would never do that." After the call, she stared at herself in the mirror. She looked perfect. Red lipstick, gold earrings, tight dress. But something in her chest felt heavy. When Tony arrived, she smiled like nothing was wrong. That night, he gave her an ATM card. "For emergencies," he said, with a wink. Sandra's eyes lit up. "You're too good to me," she said, hugging him tight. Tony kissed her forehead. "You're my queen." In her mind, she said, "See, Cynthia was just jealous." Later that night, Toby sat in his room, scrolling through his phone. He saw Sandra's latest status and sighed. She looked happy, beautiful, unreachable. He whispered, "Maybe she's truly found someone better." But deep down, a small voice inside him said, "Something is off." The next day, Sandra missed her period. She didn't panic, yet. But when the second day passed, and then the third, fear started creeping in. She bought a test kit from a pharmacy and locked herself in her bathroom. 5 minutes later, she stared at the stick in her hand. 2 red lines. Positive. Her phone beeped, a message from Tony. "On my way to the airport, traveling tonight, we'll call when I land." Her hand was shaking as she held the pregnancy test kit. 2 red lines. Clear and bold, no mistake. She sat on her bed, confused. Her heart beat fast and her throat felt dry. She had not told Tony yet. He had just traveled back to the UK the night before. They had dinner, laughed, took selfies, and then he hugged her and said, "I'll call you when I land, babe." But hours had passed. No message, no missed call, nothing. Sandra stared at her phone, willing it to ring. It didn't. She tried to convince herself everything would be fine. He said he loves me. He gave me his ATM card. He even talked about relocating me. A baby won't scare him. Still, something didn't feel right. The next morning, she sent him a message. "Hey love, hope you landed safely. I have something important to tell you. Please call me." No reply. She waited all day, then the next, and the next. On the 4th day, panic hit her fully. She called his number. It didn't ring. Switched off. She called again. Still off. She opened WhatsApp. His profile picture was gone. Her messages only showed 1 tick. Something wasn't right. Sandra called his Nigerian line, the one he used while in Lagos. "The number you were trying to call is not reachable." She felt her chest tighten. She called again, then again, still nothing. She sat on her bed, holding her stomach, whispering, "No, no, no." Later that evening, she sent a voice note. "Tony, I'm pregnant. Please, I need to talk to you. I'm scared. Please call me back." 30 minutes later, her phone vibrated. It was a message from Tony. Her hands shook as she opened it. "So, what should I do with that information? I told you I was just here to have fun. You're acting like I proposed to you." Sandra gasped. She stared at the screen, thinking it was a mistake. She replied, "What do you mean? You said you loved me. You gave me your card. You talked about marriage." A few seconds later, the next message came. "You really believed all that? Wow, you girls are too easy to deceive. Look, I have a wife and 2 kids in the UK. I'm not looking for drama. Please don't disturb me again." Sandra dropped the phone like it was fire. She held her head and screamed. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She couldn't breathe. Her whole world was crashing down. The man she gave everything to, her heart, her body, her trust, had used her and thrown her away like garbage. And now she was pregnant, alone. She picked up her phone and called again. Blocked. She tried to reach him on Instagram. Blocked. She opened his page with a different account. He had already posted a photo from Heathrow Airport, smiling beside a woman and 2 children. The caption read, "Back home to my real peace. Family over everything." Sandra couldn't speak. Her hands dropped. Her legs felt weak. She curled into a ball on the floor and wept. The next day, she went to her friend Cynthia's house. "I told you to be careful," Cynthia said softly. "These men know how to lie." Sandra sniffled. "What do I do now? My life is over." Cynthia held her hand. "It's not over, but you'll have to face reality." That night, Sandra lay in bed, hugging her pillow. In her mind, she remembered how Toby used to cover her when she slept off on his couch, how he waited in the rain just to bring her food, how he never shouted at her, even when she insulted him. She remembered the last message he sent her before she blocked him. "I hope you find what you're looking for. Take care of yourself." She cried harder. Her phone beeped. It was a friend replying to her old status. "Better to cry in a Bentley, yeah? How market now?" Sandra didn't reply. There were no Bentleys now, only tears. "How did my dream life become a nightmare?" Sandra whispered as she stared at the ceiling of her small room. The once beautiful apartment Tony rented for her had been taken back. Just 2 weeks after he returned to the UK, the caretaker knocked on her door and said, "Madam, your rent has expired. The man that paid for you no longer responds to calls. Please start packing." Sandra begged, "Just give me time. I'm pregnant. I don't have anywhere to go." But the caretaker didn't care. "We need the apartment. I've been warning you since last week. Pack your things." And so, Sandra packed her bags and moved into a small one-room space a friend found for her. No air conditioner, no fancy curtains, no perfume gifts or Gucci bags. Just a mattress on the floor and a ceiling fan that made more noise than breeze. Life had changed fast. Her phone, which used to beep every hour with bank alerts from Tony, now only vibrated for debt reminders. The ATM card he gave her had already stopped working. Her contacts were drying up. Even the girls who used to flood her DMs with, "Aw, soft girl life," had suddenly gone silent. One of them even posted a quote on her status. "When the sugar is finished, the ant disappears." Sandra knew it was about her. She stared at her growing belly in the mirror and felt a mix of fear and shame. She wanted to scream, to turn back time, to run to the past and hold on to Toby, to love that was real, even if it didn't come with luxury. That night, her tears soaked her pillow. She finally did what she had been afraid to do. She picked up her phone and searched for Toby's number. She found it. She had not deleted it, only blocked it. Her finger hovered over the unblock button for a long time. Then, with a deep breath, she tapped it. Unblocked. She typed a message. "Toby, I'm sorry. I know I hurt you deeply. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need to say thank you for everything. You were the only one who truly loved me. I see it now. I wish I had chosen differently. I'm sorry." She didn't expect a reply, but she waited. 5 minutes? Nothing. 10 minutes? Still nothing. She checked his WhatsApp profile. His picture had changed. He looked fresher. There was a woman beside him in the photo, a beautiful one. The caption read, "Building Love and Legacy, Baggage Heart." Sandra blinked, her mouth slightly open. Her chest tightened again. She tapped on his status. He had posted a short video clip at a tech seminar. He was standing on stage, speaking into a microphone. His startup had gone live. People were clapping. Toby had moved on. Sandra sat back slowly and let the phone fall beside her. The next day, she visited a public hospital for antenatal care. The nurse didn't smile. She asked questions like, "Where is the father of the child?" and "Do you have a job?" Sandra shook her head slowly, feeling smaller and smaller. She tried looking for a job afterward, anything, cleaning, sales girl, even waiting tables. But no one wanted to hire a pregnant woman with no experience. She sold some of the few things she had left, her wig, her gold earrings, the watch Tony gave her, all gone, just to eat and pay for transport. One evening, while walking home, she passed by a restaurant and saw a poster outside. "Tech Startup Seminar, meet the founder of Toby Tech." She froze. She stepped closer to read. The seminar was happening in a few days. The poster had Toby's smiling face on it. He looked happy. The boy she once called too poor was now a rising CEO. The same boy she used to ignore, insult, and block. She whispered to herself, "I broke the man who would have given me the world." That night she lay in her dark room and replayed every moment with Toby in her mind. The love, the loyalty, the patience. She saw now what she was too blind to see before. But it was too late. He was gone. "If I could turn back time," Sandra whispered, rocking her baby in her arms, "I would choose love over luxury." The baby, a boy with soft eyes and chuggy cheeks, had just fallen asleep after crying for hours. Sandra sat in the corner of her tiny one-room apartment, sweat on her forehead and tears in her eyes. The ceiling fan wasn't working again. The power had been out since afternoon. The labor had been hard. There was no one to hold her hand at the hospital. No man pacing the corridor, no flowers, no name on the birth certificate. Just Sandra Okafor, single mother, scribbled in capital letters. The hospital gave her only 2 days to stay before asking her to leave. Now, 3 months had passed. The baby was growing, but Sandra was shrinking, emotionally, mentally, financially. She had taken up a teaching job at a small nursery school. The pay was low, but it helped buy diapers and food. Every morning she left her son with her neighbor, a woman who babysat for a few people in the compound. Then she would walk to school with worn-out shoes and teach ABCs and nursery rhymes with a tired smile. Sometimes, while teaching the children, she would see flashes of her old life. Fancy restaurants, makeup kits, hotel doors closing behind her, and her own laughter echoing in Tony's car. It all felt like a dream now, a sweet, deadly dream. One rainy afternoon, Sandra sat behind her desk during break time, eating plain bread and gari soaked in water. One of the pupils came running to her. "Auntie Sandra, someone is here to see you." She stood up and walked to the front office, wondering who it could be. She rarely had visitors. And then she saw her. A well-dressed lady stood at the door. She was tall, pretty, and carried herself with quiet confidence. She had a warm smile and wore a ring on her finger. Sandra blinked twice, confused. "Good afternoon," the woman said politely. "I'm here to enroll my daughter." Sandra nodded slowly. "Please come in." The lady stepped in, filled out a form, and handed it to Sandra. That's when Sandra saw the name. Child's name, Toby Jr. Adebayo. Mother's name, Mrs. Amaka Adebayo. Sandra's hand froze. She looked up at the woman again. Sorry, did you say Adebayo? Yes, my husband is Toby Adebayo. He runs a tech company. I'm sure you've heard of him. Sandra couldn't speak. Amaka tilted her head. You're Sandra, right? Sandra nodded slowly. My husband told me about you once, Amaka said gently. He said you taught him the meaning of closure. Sandra blinked, her lips trembling. I just wanted you to know, Amaka added. He's doing very well now. We're grateful. Life teaches us all in different ways. Sandra smiled weakly and nodded. Yes, it does. As Amaka left, Sandra sat down on the wooden bench in the office. Her legs felt numb. She stared at the form again, at the child's name, Toby Jr. The same man she once left behind now had a wife, a son, a tech company, a whole new life. And here she was, single, struggling, forgotten. She walked home that day in silence, holding her son close to her chest. When she got to her room, she sat on the bed, took out her old diary, and wrote, Today I met the wife of the man I abandoned. She smiled at me with no hate. I smiled back with tears in my heart. This is what regret feels like, but I will rise, for my son, for myself. She looked at her baby boy and kissed his forehead. I may have lost love, she whispered, but I won't lose you. As the night came, Sandra turned off the light, held her son tightly, and whispered a quiet prayer, one not for riches or a soft life, but for peace. She had learned the hard way that not all that glitters is gold.